Pope Francis dies at 88. A global outpouring of grief and gratitude. Millions of Catholics around the world are mourning the death of Pope Francis, who passed away at the age of 88 following a stroke and heart failure. The Vatican announced that he died early this morning, just a day after he was last seen in public blessing crowds from the balcony of St Peter's Basilica during Easter celebrations. The Pope's body is now lying in a chapel within Vatican City. His funeral is expected to take place within 4 to 6 days, possibly by the weekend. World leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump, have already confirmed they will attend. On what was supposed to be a celebratory Easter Monday, the atmosphere in Vatican City turned solemn. Pilgrims gathered in shock, many having seen the Pope just the day before. Across Rome, church bells rang out in a tribute to the late pontiff. Throughout his papacy, Pope Francis was praised for his warmth, humility, and moral leadership. Many expressed appreciation for his synodal approach and the inclusive direction he took the Church. Tributes poured in from around the globe, underscoring the emotional impact of his passing. Sunday marked his final public appearance. Despite his frail condition, he addressed thousands of worshippers from the balcony, offering what would become his final Easter blessing. Just weeks earlier, he had been discharged from the hospital after battling double pneumonia. That evening, the Pope's official residence was sealed as mourners gathered outside to pray. Among them were those who felt privileged to have seen him one last time. In his final testament, made public after his death, he requested a simple burial with a tombstone bearing only his name, Francis, and expressed his wish to be remembered not in grandeur but humility. His words echoed his life's mission. May the Lord grant a fitting reward to all those who loved me and who continue to pray for me. The suffering that has marked the final part of my life I offer to the Lord for peace in the world and for fraternity among peoples. A transformational papacy. Pope Francis, born Jorge Bergoglio in Argentina, was the first pontiff from the Southern Hemisphere and the first non-European pope in centuries. His election in 2013 marked a shift in tone and style for the Vatican. Before entering the priesthood, he worked as a nightclub bouncer and carried that everyman humility throughout his papacy. He chose the name Francis in honor of the saint who advocated for the poor. From his earliest actions such as paying his own hotel bill and washing the feet of prisoners, he signaled a desire for a more grounded church. A tireless advocate for the marginalised, Francis championed migrant rights, economic justice, and environmental action. His encyclical on climate change highlighted the moral responsibility of wealthier nations and was a landmark moment in the Church's engagement with global issues. He was also the first pope to address the U.S. Congress, calling on America to care for the earth and the vulnerable. Despite apologizing repeatedly for the Church's handling of child abuse scandals, criticisms persisted, and reform remained incomplete in the eyes of many. While his statements on homosexuality, like "Who am I to judge?" hinted at a progressive shift, the Church's official stance on many issues, including abortion and gender identity, remained unchanged. Nonetheless, Francis's pastoral style, marked by compassion and simplicity, distinguished him from his more conservative predecessors. A global legacy. Pope Francis's efforts to decentralize the Church's power structure were evident in his appointment of cardinals from Africa, Asia, and Latin America, shifting the Church's focus away from a declining Europe. Though health issues marred his final years affecting his mobility and stamina, he continued a rigorous schedule and remained active until the end. His death, occurring just after Easter, is being interpreted by many faithful as spiritually significant. World tributes and final days. Tributes poured in from leaders worldwide. King Charles, who met with Francis just weeks ago, called him a man of compassion and unity. British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer praised him as a pope for the poor. In the U.S., President Trump ordered flags lowered at government buildings and honored the Pope during a public appearance. In Argentina, where he once served as Archbishop, Pope Francis's death was deeply personal. Many mourners described him as family. Across the Philippines, India, Nigeria, the U.S., and Europe, services were held to honor his memory. Tonight, the Pope's body rests at his St. Martha residence. By Wednesday, it will be moved to St. Peter's Basilica for the public to pay their respects. His funeral is expected within days. The Church now turns to the next chapter, the conclave. The process of selecting a new pope begins 15 to 20 days after a pope's death and takes place in the Sistine Chapel under intense secrecy.